Hello, welcome to Love Food, Hate Money, the show where we talk about food and we'll prove it by spending all of our money on it. I'm going to be your host, Jonah. We have co-host Courtney.
Hey.
And then one more today. We have, I don't know how I want to introduce you. The one, the only Angel Cat.
Did you forget my name?
Yeah, who are you? Why are you in my house? No, we got Angel.
Yay.
Hi, Angel.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
She's like, I don't want to be here anymore.
You don't even know who I am. You don't know me. Well, we're having a fun little dinner date. We have some bottles of wine. I'm going to attempt to... Jesus Christ almighty.
That was loud.
Whew. I hate opening up bottles of bubbly.
Poor form.
Poor
Jonah.
form. No,
It was all for the drama.
did it for the drama. Did you see how big my eyes got?
Yeah, I have it on video. That would be great.
You look like you were doing something bad.
I did. I'm all the times being reprimanded for opening up a bottle quickly. Like, no, Miho, what are you doing? I'm sorry. Going too fast. We've got, for drinks this evening, Angel brought over for the dinner date some Barasca Proseccos. We have a DOC Rosé, which is one of their protected designation of, what is it? Designation Origin Controllee? Says it on here, yeah. Denominazione di Origine Controllata. Italian.
Yeah, I know what that means.
Tasty rosé, and then the bottle I just cracked into is also Barasca, but it's a higher tier. It is Prosecco Superior. It's a DOCG. The G makes it better. That's what they say.
G for good.
G is for good.
Yeah, and it's only like $15.
They're delicious.
Yeah,
I really enjoy
that one's
it.
only like $15. The other one I think was like 14. I think that one's like 15 something. And then the highest one that they had at Total Wine, because you know, classy,
Where we do all of our shopping.
right? I think it was like $20.
It's good.
No, it's decent. Like for the money, I'm like,
Yeah.
if you guys make it to Costco, the Kirkland Prosecco with the purple wrapper,
Okay.
$7.99.
I like
Bomb.
how it's the purple wrapper one. You're like,
It's specifically the purple wrapper one. It's delicious. It's so good for $7.99.
for $7.99. I just popped open the bottle of the
The other one.
DOCG, but the rosé is tasty. It tastes like sparkling rosé, which is hard to beat. Strawberries and light, bubbly, delicious.
Great.
Balanced, not too sweet, not too dry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And kind of goes with everything,
Right.
which is why we love bubbles.
That's why we drink. That's why I drink bubbles. Because it don't matter what I'm eating.
Butter, pizza.
Butter pizza.
Donuts,
Donuts.
bubbles.
We do have donuts as well. Bosa donuts. Shout out to Bosa.
Best donuts in Arizona.
Says it on the box.
Says it on the box, and you can't lie.
You
if
can't.
it's
You
on a
can't
box.
lie in advertising.
There's
That never happens.
truth in advertising. I also wanted to point out that the G standing for good is fun, but I think what it actually stands for is funnier because it's the exact same. So it's a denominación de origin controlada y, and then it's garantita. So it's like guaranteed. It's extra good.
I like that. That's good.
I think guaranteed is a funnier way to be like, don't worry about it. It's okay. You're going to like
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good no matter what. Maybe.
So we're really excited to have you. You had the displeasure of working with Jonah.
Another one of the fallen.
Because we just continue to have people who have had the displeasure of working with Jonah.
More of a support group and a place where people can...
This is where you can air your grievances.
You can talk it out. Yeah.
You can tell us about the dumbest thing he's ever done.
What was the dumbest thing I did there?
You just kind of stand around and look dumb, I feel like. Like, that's probably most of your experience with Jonah.
I knew whenever I was about to get yelled at because I would sprint over and be like, this is what happened, and then I would sprint away.
Yeah, he would be sending in like stuff on tickets, and I would be like, somebody go get Jonah. And before the person went and got Jonah, Jonah would come like wiggling around the corner.
Full little like baby penguin trots, just like...
And be like, Angel, I know it's dumb, but this is what they wanted.
They
or whatever.
said this. They said that I had to say it. Please, just
I know
do
that there's
it.
no nuts there, but they said...
They need you to know that I know.
Right.
that
I
you
know that there's no garlic in this dish, But
they
But in case you think about adding it.
because you know me, just throwing garlic and everything willy-nilly. That's
that
how
happened
I
from time to
operate.
time where there would be days where we would be like, what the hell is
Oh, no,
that?
that did happen, yeah.
And you were just like, yeah, this goes on an hour. We're like, that's fun.
Yeah, the guests would be like, what's that? And Jonah would be like, what is that? Hold on.
Mystery to us all.
I'm going to find out for you.
We're going to find out together.
Man.
That's the best part about serving is that you can sort of lie your way through a lot of stuff.
Well, it's like improv.
You're just like, what's that? Yep, that's some food. And I'm going to find out what it is.
And it's interesting because you come from a restaurant where all of back of house is female.
That's true.
And most of front of house, at least when Jonah worked there, male.
It's still all male. Oh, wait, no, we have a new hostess, but it's still
Yeah.
just
the servers and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very opposite than I think what most people assume about restaurants, even though in my career everywhere I worked, there were girls in the kitchen. So it's not crazy.
It's not crazy, but
They were
it
all
is,
barefoot.
it
It
is
was wild.
I'm pregnant.
And lesbian. It was a really...
True. That happens sometimes. But it's different. I think that everybody who works there has at one point commented on the fact that we're all women back there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got an all-lady kitchen. You're like, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's always been something that's so funny to me about how, like, at home, the woman is supposed to be in the kitchen, and that's a whole stereotype. But then for some reason, once it's a professional thing, like it's a boys' club.
It's because it's hard. It's because it's hard, and I think that...
And you know what else is hard? Boys.
Gross.
Wow.
More wine?
You just got kicked off this episode. This is a girls' episode now.
That's pretty soft.
I think that the fact that I mean, physical labor is definitely, it's deemed more suitable for men.
Sure.
But, yeah, no, I never really understood it either, but I guess, I don't know. I think that women handle pain and being on their feet and working all the time. They handle it a little bit better. Sorry if that sounds sexist. I'm sorry. But, I mean, from my own experience and having worked with both women and men.
My feet are delicate little angel babies.
You're a delicate little angel baby.
Thank you.
No, I think that's an interesting point, though, because I do think a lot of times women kind of get pigeonholed into pastry chef. You have to be a baker. You have to make desserts. You have to do the sweet stuff. And I think that's really funny because that stuff's way more technical and like very hard. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, like the cooking aspect of it is more of like, we just kind of threw shit together and it was not a big deal. But like you're saying, it's the physical labor that's really hard and like it wears on your body a lot.
I mean, when I first started working in the industry, as a woman, or even as men when you first start, but specifically as women, no matter how long you've been working in the industry, the chef usually assumes that you are applying for a pastry position or a pantry position because usually they're a little bit more slow. Pastry is incredibly difficult, but it's slower paced.
Oh, yeah, because you're just usually assembling at the time of service.
Exactly. So I think that they just assume that somehow that's easier, although I don't really understand that. And the same thing with pantry. They just
salads.
Salad. You're making salads. It's easy. You're cute. You know. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. But yeah, no, it's rare that they'll assume that you're applying for an actual sauté position or a grill position, which is actually, I don't think that anybody's ever asked me if I wanted a grill position. Like that's never been a thing. I mean, obviously I work the grill now, but
I was about to say the best part of that is the context. So that's where you currently
yeah,
live.
that's where I am now. But nobody would ever assume, especially look the way that I look like outside of work. I think that if I were to walk in there like I look right now, nobody would think that I was, I know
you clean up nice.
Thanks.
That's the problem. Is you always look so put together. And they're like, you do what for work?
Right. I'm like, yeah, I get all dirty and gross, and I go home smelling like grease, super hot. So I got a boyfriend or don't.
Dude, the grease smell is fun because it sort of just like bakes in.
It does. There's yeah. It definitely
yeah.
breaks and it stinks.
Well, and especially too, working a grill station, a lot of times, especially for our listeners who haven't worked in restaurants, that's going to entail handling fish, maybe handling meat. Like you're handling things that have a lot of different smells. And then you're also hot and sweaty because you're standing in front of a grill.
I thought you were calling me hot at first. Thanks.
Well, you're a hot person standing in front of a hot grill.
You're handling different meats. You're a hot girl.
Yeah,
it's wild out in these woods.
The other day, Dylan was helping me close the gate, and he like leans over and he goes, "You smell like fish." And I was like, "Yeah."
He's like, "This is why I'm gay." And right away. Just.
I'm like, sorry, not sorry.
Like that, but that's just the name of the game. And I think too, like pantry, usually it's a quieter area. You're putting together salads, cold appetizers. Like it's very mellow.
Like how you got quieter as you described it.
Well, it's very ASMR.
All right, now.
But then when you're grilling,
Caesar. Got a little Caesar salad going. Here's your anchovy, a little garlic. Oh, daddy like.
But then and then you also expo at the same time. You run a full station. You're doing expo, so you're reading tickets. You're sending out what goes to what tables. So you're kind of playing two games.
Yeah. It gets difficult sometimes to juggle, but I mean, I'm used to it at this point. So it's like
old pro.
Yeah, it's just what I do.
So how did you get into cooking initially?
Well, honestly, like I was going to school I started off going to school, just community college, like don't be impressed or anything.
So you're saying you can read.
I can read. I started off
Not
going to
well.
depends who you talk to. I went for sociology. I changed my major to psychology, and then at some point it became cultural anthropology. And for some reason, a lot of chefs were former like cultural anthropology majors.
I read anthropology books for fun. I totally get it.
It does make sense because, food is so tied into that. So I think that's how I kind of made my way towards that. I will 100%, especially at that time, Anthony Bourdain and Padma Lakshmi were really coming up and their shows were new. And I used to watch them all the time on the Food Network. Mm-hmm. So I really credit those two because they tied culture into cooking and they made it seem interesting where it wasn't just like, throwing a pan on the stove. They made a story out of it. So that was, interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways, basically, I was going to transfer to National University and got tired of it and threw myself into culinary school like an idiot.
And that's the culinary school is the fun piece. And that was really what I was excited to talk to you about because we went to the same culinary school in two different states in two different eras. And I think talking about culinary school is really interesting because a lot of people have this belief that if you want to be a chef, you want to work in restaurants, you got to go to culinary school.
Those people don't know anything. They don't.
And I think also there's, and we'll definitely talk about this, but the financial component of the return on investment is not what they make it out to be when you're signing those papers.
No, because that's because the people that are advising you have no idea. They have no clue. The people they're the financial aid people, your advisors, your counselors, none of them, at least with me, were ever involved in the culinary aspect of the school.
Because they make school money.
Right.
They don't make restaurant money.
No. No.
And I don't know about you, but I went to the Art Institute of Phoenix. They held my diploma hostage until I accepted a job that they tried to place me in. So I had to wait till the school went bankrupt to get a copy of my diploma. Long story. But the places they were trying to put me was like Red Robin and Applebee's and like the Keg. Like those were my choices. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. And on top of that, those places are paying $9 an hour at the time.
No. That's not gonna work. That doesn't work still.
But Applebee's is in the neighborhood.
Technically. Depends there's a lot of Applebee's in the neighborhood.
So you went to the Art Institute of
Santa Monica in California.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at the time, so when I went through school, it was all very international. Like, oh, you're going to learn Asian cuisine. You're going to learn Mexican. You're going to be able to work anywhere. Was it like a similar model when you went to school?
When I went to school, I don't really think they tried to sell me on anything, to be honest with you. I have a 2-year degree, which doesn't really mean anything, but I have an actual diploma that says I have
An AAS. Yeah.
Not to be confused with an ASS.
That's different.
That's different. That can get you jobs.
Well, these days. That's true. I went in, but basically they were like, it's going to be like a well-rounded, you're going to be a well-rounded chef when you get out of here. And
You're
honestly,
going to be a well-rounded individual. You're going to do the first level of college math.
right. I had to take actual courses.
Yeah.
Like I had to take like,
Algebra 1.
yeah, I actually finished Algebra 1 in my community college. So I had to take that. But I did have to take history and like all these other ridiculous watered down versions of real college courses. And then
I think the watered down is the fun part because when you're talking about like the Art Institute, like they're just trying to graduate kids. They're just like, please,
It's a money
get them in, get them out.
scheme. Like when I was getting ready to go to school, I was talking to one of the directors of the program, and she was trying to start a class that was geometry of napkin folding because they had so many kids failing Algebra 1 that weren't getting their culinary degrees.
geometry of napkin.
Yes.
Where
it was
That's so sad.
Yeah. And I think that speaks more to the people that were enrolling.
That's what I was going to say. Them culinary kids, not very bright.
Oh my goodness, I'm just going to play with the geometry of napkin folding
Like-
right now. What?
So the pitch 2 was essentially like, you're going to get out of here. You're going to be well-rounded. What did
Yeah.
they tell you about jobs when you got out?
They made it sound like I would be making somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 a year. This was in like 2004, I want to say.
Oh my God.
2003, 2004.
You lucky to make that now.
That's
That's
what I'm saying. And I was doing a bunch of research online too, because I was like, well, what are the actual statistics? And basically what it all came down to is that like culinary school costs, like, let's say, depending on what kind of school you're going to, your degree, how long, the length and duration and all of that stuff. Let's say anywhere from $31,000 to $125,000.
Yep.
So if you're lucky, and I was working in LA, so and I was working at the time I was working in Brentwood. So in a very wealthy neighborhood.
yeah, it's a nice neighborhood.
Right. And they were paying me like $750 an hour.
Yeah, real close to that 60,000.
Exactly. And granted, I had no experience. That was my first job, but like I was living in Los Angeles. How? In what?
Even back then, like
Even
to
back
try
then.
to survive on so little.
Yeah, which is how I ended up out here because I was like, oh, it'll be better. And then I made $8 an hour. And then like you have, I think it's a year between when you graduate to when your payments actually kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like my payments were, I don't know, they were like $100 and I was making $8 an hour.
Oh my God.
I could barely
That math doesn't math.
I couldn't pay for anything. And then what ends up happening is that you have to keep deferring them or putting them into forbearance because you can't. So the interest just keeps accruing. And then next thing you know, your payments like over $135, over $200. And then you're trying to still make, live on $10 an hour.
Wild.
How does that? But long story short, yeah, they overpromised.
It was predatory.
Yeah, they overpromised. Like I wasn't making anything near that.
I crunched the numbers. So if you so $60,000 divided by the $8 an hour, you have to work 7,500 hours in a year. We'll just divide that by the amount of weeks. So that's 144 hours a week.
That's doable, yeah.
But like you would have, I mean, obviously if you're working hourly, like maybe eventually you'll get that time and a half. So you'll be bumped up to $11 an hour. That's the algebra one that we were talking about earlier, so I'm not going to do that.
I can only fold napkins. I can't.
I only know the geometry of napkin folds. I don't do the algebra one, but that's at least 100 hours a week you would have had to be working at that pay rate, which I think is adorable that they're like, you got it, kid. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. I don't know. They sold it as glamorous, which I think that a lot of, especially in LA, because I mean, to be fair, I did get to do like Oscar
Drugs.
party. Not yet, but like Oscar parties and like things like that were kind of cool to have the experience with, but you're just never going to make the money that it takes to pay off your loans. If you're just like, if you're like a normal person that doesn't have parental backing or, you know, another job that allowed you to make a ton of money beforehand or anything like that, you're never going to pay it off. It's forever.
Did you have a lot of people that were there out of military? Because half the students at our school was, well, the military is paying for it, so it doesn't hurt me to do it.
Yeah.
Which for them works great because they didn't have to pay.
Yeah, but also like I'm like, you should have taken that military money and done something.
Go get a real
smarter
degree.
with it. Yeah. Because it's not it. Trust me, bro. Like, it's not what you want to be doing. But yes, I did run into a bunch of military people. I ran into a lot of people who...
You're with a military person now.
Who?
Nicolette. Isn't that... I'm pretty sure she's military.
No, she's not.
No? Why is she spending money on culinary school?
You know, if you're able to do that, then I think that, and you want to go to culinary school, it's a fun experience, and you do learn a lot of things that kind of give you an upper hand when you're getting like your first job and stuff. You know, you know your mother's sauces. You know how to.
You have your knife cuts on lock.
Right, exactly. You know how to brunoise and tournade and the difference between a fine and a medium and a large dice and all that other crap that you can learn anyway, whether you went to culinary school or not. I think it's, you know, it's an experience. And if you're able to do that, then sure, go ahead and take that.
Yeah.
But if you got to pay for it,
that's rough.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Worst financial decision of my life. Ever. Ever.
You're not ever, like, yeah, especially if you're paying the full, like, art school prices on it. Like, paying for art school in general is like a squirrely endeavor, but at least in like if you're a painting, you can get like fine art money where it's like, oh yeah, like obviously it's once in a blue moons. It's probably the equivalent of like being a celebrity chef, but yeah, you're not like your base pay is going to be minimum wage wherever you go, unless you at least coming out of school.
Yeah,
out of school, and even I think as you move up, I think there's a lot of disparity between front of house and back of house. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I tip the servers really well, so the kitchen must be making good money. And it's not usually the case. There's some chefs and some restaurants that I think definitely try to do right by back of house. But a lot of times front of house is taking home $200-$300 a night. Mm-hmm. And back of house is like, I can't afford rent this month.
Yeah, no, it happens. That's why there's a lot of resentment between, I think, the front, usually, not always.
You can just say you hate Jonah. It's fine.
I tell him I hate him, so it's not like it's not a
it's not new info.
Yeah. He knows.
Yeah. So you go to culinary school, you do the whole song and dance, you work in LA for a little bit, you come out here, partially due to cost of living. Mm-hmm. And
gotcha.
Yeah. Joke's on you.
Over the last 10 years, that's almost equal at this point.
I mean, when I moved out here, my apartment was like $650. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, even our first place, I think, was $800 a month. And it's just, and that would have been 8 years ago.
2015.
And it's just like, God damn. So you start working out here. I mean, for you, how different was it working in LA versus working in Phoenix?
At that time, you have to consider the time that I moved out
absolutely.
Here. I was like, why did I do this to myself?
There were very few well-known restaurants out
Pizzeria
here.
Bianco would have been open.
Pizzeria Bianco, but it was like that time. It was in the tiny little Inheritage Square. Yeah. I got a job working at the Boulders.
Ooh, resort life.
Right, in their fine dining establishment, which was Latia. But I mean, I was making nothing there and driving all the way almost to almost to Cave Creek. I was living down where I live now, so I was living off of 24th Street and Camelback.
Yeah.
And driving all the way out there and making, I think, $8 an hour.
That's just crazy.
Yep.
And so did you work there long enough to kind of move up, or did you work kind of like
at the time,
pantry
so
pastry?
This is a weird story. At the time, I was working with this guy, and I'll say his name, I don't care. His name is Bradley Miller. He was on Hell's Kitchen. He actually has, or I don't know if he still does, but he got a show on the Food Network a few years ago. He wanted to be a celeb. It was like I want to say, I don't know how to explain.
Oh, we got to look that up.
You're going to have to look it up. He looks like exactly what I'm going to tell you. So.
I'm excited.
Right.
Bradley Miller slander.
So apparently, according to various other people that I still keep in contact with since I've worked there, apparently he had a problem with he didn't want any other women working on the line, because there was a woman that did work on the line. And they had some sort of thing going on. Okay?
Oh, no.
But you love to see it.
Right. And then there was me. And at the time, I got hired in pantry. So, like, I was nobody. But he, I guess, explicitly said that, like, I will never work on a line because I was a woman.
Wow.
Right? Which is funny because the chef that was actually running Latia was a woman.
What?
Weird.
She didn't like me because she would, like, really love Brad, though. And she kind of, like, treated me like garbage.
Oh, that's who he is.
That's another thing that I think people don't realize is how competitive back of house can be. And also, like, who you're aligned with in the restaurant can really determine if you move up or not.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, especially in places like that.
Yeah.
Like where there's a hierarchy, where a very clear hierarchy or whatever. So, yeah, that's definitely, yes, it is who you know. Mm-hmm. Even now, and not where I work, but I'm talking about like in the industry itself. It's definitely about who you know and how
when
that person.
you know them.
Yeah.
What?
Well, like you can know someone and like nothing pan out of it. Like it's just like, oh yeah, like, I know this person, and then there's the amount of this like, oh, like I know you and I need this thing. Like, are you able to do this thing for me? And you can like those connections. It's all very.
Yes, that is true.
Timing based.
Yep.
So did you get to a point where you like moved up, or did you kind of like move on? You were like, this is stupid.
No, I just left. I was like, I'm not going to get anywhere. It's just a waste of my time. I was making $8 an hour. So I got another job after that. I don't know if I should. I don't want to name drop.
You don't have to name.
Yeah. Working for another fancy chef. And
is it the one?
Oh, no, before that one.
Okay.
Before that one.
We're self-censoring now.
Right.
There's self-censoring happening, and I'm just staring at the wall and like not looking at the like weird nonverbal cues. So I know as much as everyone listening right now.
Yeah, so I started working for another fancy chef person. I made $10 an hour.
Whoa.
Game
changing.
Moving on it.
Worked my first Super Bowl in the state of Arizona, which was the worst time. We did 1,000 covers that day.
Oh my God.
I've never been more miserable in my life, so I'm never going to do that again. Then I started working for that other person that we talked about.
Yeah.
Super Bowl's back this year. That's exciting.
Oh God. I am happy that we can't, like the restaurant's pretty limited on covers.
So many people you can get in there. Yeah.
But the Super Bowl in Arizona is not a fun time.
It's a lot of wealthy out of town people that come to the part of town that you work in.
Taking up all the parking. Seriously. Nowhere to walk.
The greatest sin is the parking problems.
Oh, it's awful.
So you did that. And my understanding is you worked for this chef for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And you actually did move up.
Yeah, I was a sous chef there for a little bit, making a whole $38,000 a year.
Oh, so you
tripled your income is what I'm hearing you say.
I would take if I took home $900, I was like, oh dang,
we gotta go.
We're gonna go shopping. Ross, here I come.
We're about to get this $5 t-shirt. It's a good
deserve this.
Exactly. But at the time I was living with a partner. I had a boyfriend that I was living with, so it wasn't so strenuous. Like,
Yeah.
like I had somebody to split bills with, but yeah, I mean, $38,000 is not a lot of money
No.
a year at all. Not even like, no, I'm trying to like think of like, how would it be a lot of money? It's not a lot of money.
You didn't have to pay for rent.
Yeah, if you didn't have to.
If I didn't have to pay for rent, yes. I was like, yes, I did, Jonah.
You didn't know her.
Are you not listening to this story?
So what kept you into the industry? Why did you keep working?
Because I couldn't afford to go. I couldn't afford it. I could like you're in at that point. You're in between a rock and a hard place. Like at the time, my boyfriend was also in the industry, so like we were just working, and like you either stop working and put yourself and go back to school and incur more debt, which isn't worth it unless you're going to go into like a really high paying industry. Because otherwise you're just going to, it's just forever. Like,
or at least something that like, is going to like get you through. Like you have to see light at the end of that tunnel and not just be like, maybe this career will work out.
Yeah, no, exactly. It can't be like, I'm just going to try this and see what happens. Like there should definitely be a plan at that point.
Don't like this. I have more debt now.
I'm just going to go be a lawyer.
Right.
I'm just going to go be an anesthesiologist.
I'm just, just something simple.
Casual.
Right. Pediatrician. No big deal. So like, yeah, I mean, at that point I was like, well, this is the only thing I know how to do. And I'm good at it, but also I'm not making any money. So I didn't really know what to do, honestly. Yeah. Like I was just kind of like, well, you've spent all this, you're spending all this money on your degree. And,
eat her AAS.
Right. Wow. There's dogs here.
My children, they can hear you.
Babies.
Like I didn't know what to do. So like, I just kind of kept going and like hoping that eventually it would pay off.
Yeah.
So I think that's at that time. And also like I was also in my 20s still at that time.
Oh, dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. I really should have just
said to be in your 20s.
Hate it. We're the worst.
Well, I think I thought I knew everything at that point. Also, like, I mean, I didn't have I had no guidance. Like, it was just like,
oh yeah, because you work and you think eventually like, oh, if I keep working hard, like the whole like, I think there's like this false narrative of like your worth and how much money you make is directly correlated to how hard you work.
Right.
And I think some people work super, super hard and they don't ever get anywhere. And like, that's not have anything to do with them. It's the society that we're in and like the way that capitalism honestly is set up.
But also, yes, that I agree with you. But also working in the culinary industry, you are like, it is ingrained into you that you have to suffer.
Uh-huh.
It is like pounded into your head that things are going to be hard and you're going to be poor and you've got to do all this crap to like pay your dues.
At the end of the night, we're going to drink for net and that's going to make it
worth it.
I hate that stuff. Yeah. So like like you're taught that you need to suffer and put up with a whole bunch of crappy attitudes and make no money for it.
It's a really interesting point because we're talking about this the other day of just this kind of toxic mentality that is kind of bred into people who work in restaurants of just, nope, this is what you deserve. You deserve poor working conditions. You deserve low pay. You deserve to be sexually harassed or emotionally abused by who you work for.
Oh, yeah.
And I think only recently has that maybe started to like change a little. It does also depend on like where you work.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of restaurants that continue to kind of perpetuate this like cultural issue. And it's like, how do we expect that people to live?
But so now there has been like a mass exodus from the industry.
Yeah.
Because now nobody wants you can't treat people like that anymore. I mean, you can, but there's going to be consequences.
So your turnover is going to be 200%.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you're gonna have a high turnover, and nobody's going to want to continue to work for you. So, like now, we're coming to a point where nobody nobody wants to do this anymore. It's not worth it. It's not worth the money. It's not worth the abuse. And I totally get it. Like, you know, there are places obviously where the working conditions are not like that. Like there are chefs who do care about their staff, and that's an awesome thing. But I would say for the vast majority of people, restaurant workers, they think if they give you $20 an hour, that's good. And unfortunately, especially within the last couple of years with inflation, that's not good money anymore.
Right.
Unfortunately, like that's crappy. It's crappy that that's what's happened, but that is what has happened is that like $20, you got $20 an hour as a line cook. Fuck yes. Now
you're making a living. You're like, I'm
coming. Think about where it's just like, well, this is like 5 times more than I made when I was at your job. It's like, yeah, but it costs 10 times more to live.
Exactly.
Right now. So, like,
exactly. My rent has gone up from $818 to almost $1,500 in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't understand. It's unfortunate.
We've got so many good things here. The worst air pollution in the country.
Oh, are we going to sell Arizona now? It's like, guys.
Come to Arizona, everyone.
I'm here.
Yeah, so I think kind of the amalgamation of like all of that. And then you've been at your current job for 10 years now.
10 years.
So I have to imagine it's a decent place to work.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like I honestly, like obviously my gripes mostly have to do with the industry itself and the fact that maybe I don't want to do this forever.
Yeah.
But not the place that I work at or who my boss is or the people that I work with.
Right. Except Jonah, which thank God he doesn't work there anymore.
He's gone. Thank God Jonah's gone.
Skittering around the corner.
Right.
Sorry. And then run back.
Exactly. I know it's dumb, but I gotta go.
Those were my second favorite. My actual favorite thing to do was when it would be a busy night and you were like, you had a certain like look depending, your face changes depending on how busy you are. Pretty common for everyone, but like yours is entertaining for me. So I would like see that you're busy and then there would be this like, all right, like, sell any other station, and I'm like, cool, I heard you say sell fish. So I'd go to a table and be like, 4 fishes, everyone, and they're like, yeah, we'll all have the fish. And I was like and then I would just like turn the corner you would look up and then you'd look at me and then I'd run away.
Yeah, 7 top all coming off a grill. Thanks, Jonah. Miles likes to do that.
That's the move.
Miles likes to do that. I'm like, thanks guys, it's fine. The good thing, though, is that I can fit like 7 pieces of fish on a grill as opposed to like trying to...
7 pastas in a pan?
Exactly. Much easier situation.
Oh, no.
It screwed you over, but it helped everyone else out.
Honestly, like I would rather, in most cases, screw myself over because I'm confident in my ability to pull myself out of that situation.
Gonna get through it eventually.
Right.
Everyone else, you're like, well, they may never return.
This could be
you
the
okay?
final
You're
straw.
laying down. You just sat down. You all right?
Why are you sitting?
I mean, everybody's been through that situation.
Oh, yeah.
In a restaurant where you're just like, I'm going to sit down and cry.
I'm going to put my hand in my little low boy and just have a minute.
Like, what are you doing down there? Nothing.
You've been reaching in there for a long time to grab that milk. Are you okay?
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Or you just lock yourself in the bathroom for like 5 minutes.
You just need time. You had to go cry in the walk-in for a minute. You just do it.
The plates, because at least it's air conditioned.
That's true. Especially here in Arizona.
Oh my God.
Go in the walk-in.
So I'm curious about your experience working through COVID in a restaurant and kind of what that was like from a back of house perspective. Because I think like we have some perspective, at least from front of house, with Jonah's experience of like, just take like 6 months off because there's nobody coming into the restaurant.
I only got 3 months off. 2 months off. 2 months off, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think it was scary for everybody. It was terrifying, honestly. Yeah. Like, I didn't know if I was going to have a job to come back to because, like, once I realized that everything was starting to shut down, I remember going to Shar and going, like, what's going on?
What are we going to do?
Like, what are we going to do? And, like, I think that for her even and Pablo, it was just kind of, like, up in the... I mean, how do you navigate that?
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Right. Like, how do you... Totally. Yeah, you don't know. Nobody knew what they were doing, and they were just trying their best, like everybody else was. So...
I don't feel like everyone was trying their best at that time, but that's neither here nor there.
Not everybody. Some people were trying their best.
You people out there that are just like, I can't breathe with my mask on.
Oh,
People are
God.
dying, Linda.
No, that is true. It was at that time where everybody was like calling everybody sheep and
Oh my
crazy
God.
stuff like that, and like trying to pull off masks and stuff.
Oh, there was that one really crazy girl here in Arizona.
Lisa Rain Lively.
That lady's crazy. Well, you guys also had a protester come into the restaurant
Yes, he
at
did.
one point,
That
and he
guy-
got arrested.
He is a homophobic piece of garbage, that one. I forgot his whole name, but I know it's Ian. I don't need to give him any more press than that, though.
Yeah, true.
The guy's a piece of trash. Came in while we had our mask policy and our vaccination policy in place without a mask with like 2 other people and a bullhorn in the middle of service. It was during like at the beginning of service too. And like poor Marlene is so nice that like she's like
Trying to accommodate,
right,
figure it
she's
out.
trying to like, you
Can
can
you
go.
leave?
Can you please go? And like, then of course, then there was an uprising and the guests got up and they were like filming him and it was a whole mess. And he got arrested.
As he should.
As he should have.
So I'm curious, during that time, did you ever think like, I'm going to have to find a new career? Like,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah,
have
that's why
to-
everybody started doing OnlyFans.
What we started talking about?
Yeah, send us the link. We'll put it in this description.
Link in bio.
We'll promote that for you. We believe in supporting people's dreams.
Y'all didn't realize
Sex work
that's
is
what
real work.
It pays more than cooking.
It does though. I don't know that for the record. I have no actual idea.
If the internet's to be believed, everything pays more than cooking.
Yeah, sadly, yes, that is correct.
So yeah, so there was definitely a time
Unless
where you
you
were
were
like,
back
how
Yeti.
am I going
Yeah,
to?
I have a lot of friends that just stopped doing what we were doing. They just switched careers. I do have friends. I'm joking about it, but I have friends that started OnlyFans pages and that were actually pretty lucrative. A lot of people just left the industry.
Yeah.
Just started doing office jobs, other stuff, anything but something that was like, based on people coming into a restaurant, things like that.
Yeah.
Hospitality.
Carriers.
Do you feel like when restaurants reopened that people showed like gratitude towards restaurants, or do you think people were worse? Because I've read a couple articles that said that like the pandemic made people mean.
Yeah. I think, it really, I think depends on the type of person that they were. 'Cause
Sure.
I've encountered both people. Like I've encountered a lot of people that were very thankful that we had like a vaccination policy in place and that were happy that we were wearing masks. And then like you would meet people that were like, this is stupid. Why are you doing this?
You
And,
bunch of devil worshippers.
Yeah, crazy stuff like that. Calling us Nazis, things
jeez.
posting pictures of Gestapo uniforms on the Yelp page, things like that. Like it was
The
ridiculous.
gazpacho police.
The gazpacho. Hating them tomato soup.
Damn. Heat up your soup, damn it.
No cold soup.
There was both.
I mean, you encountered that too, Jonah, didn't you? When you came back.
Yeah,
right
I
away,
came back
didn't
after
you?
the pandemic. I would say like I was the bouncer for a while. That was my favorite when people would be like, what do you mean I can't just eat here? And I was like, do you have vaccination proof? And they were like, no. And I was like, bye-bye.
Yeah, but you like that.
Jonah loves confrontation.
Jonah
The conflict in that the conflict, if they're like, you can be mean to them, I'm like,
Like when we would have people out on the lawn and we were going to set up and like we couldn't get them to leave, I'd be like, send Jonah out there.
every day, 3:00, I would see these like a full family, grandma and grandpa are out there. They all have ice cream cones. The kids are running around.
You got to go.
Don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And they're like, it's 3 PM. I was like, it's closing time.
I gotta put my tables out.
I would usually like bring out the table too in that motion where I'm like, just so you know, this is going right where you are.
You can move or not.
Move.
Those tables are heavy. You can have somebody.
They are.
It was always the metal ones, which weren't that heavy, but they were pointy legs. So it was just like this forklift man coming through like, gotta go, children.
If I saw Jonah coming at me with a metal table, I would have just moved.
You're like, this isn't worth it.
Like I'm about to be hate
I
crime.
can have a picnic elsewhere.
Exactly.
That was the crazy. So like that grass. Well, when it was the dirt patch, it was bad. But when it was the grass, like it was a turf, so like you had to clean it. I don't know how often it was getting cleaned. So there'd be people having these like full on picnics in the grass. And I'm like, there was like actual human shit right where you are yesterday. So
I mean,
good luck to you.
I never saw that, and honestly, like I can't even. I have no idea about the like when the.
I never
schedule.
cleaned
The E.
grass.
coli.
That was never my.
Well, no, I think they had somebody come and do it. Like
I would imagine they had to, because the human shit would not be there anymore. But there was times where I was like, that's.
No, but people with dogs and animals
yeah.
used it all the time, and then you would see like a 5-year-old just rolling across of it, rubbing their face in it. And
Get in there, Billy.
It's just building his immune system.
yeah, but I mean the turf's gone now.
Oh, yeah,
It'll be
now-
interesting to see
now
when
it's
all the
a whole-
renovations
it's
are
the
done.
center of the earth.
Now we got like a Mad Max type Adventure Dome situation going on out there.
The Fury Road.
Tina Turner's about to pop out from over like one of the hills of dirt. Yeah, it's a hot. Right now they're renovating it, so it's just like dirt, but no more turf, so that's good.
Did they? How far is the renovation gone now? Like, is it? It's supposed to be October. It's done, right? Also, for context, happy Labor Day, everyone.
Yeah, talking about jobs.
There's no such thing as unskilled labor. Fight me.
Just unskilled people.
Just idiot people.
Oh,
But everybody deserves to make a living wage. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, they do.
but if everyone makes a living wage, then we don't get to have billionaires. And
That's
what would
true.
we do without our billionaires?
The Rockefellers.
I was just thinking like Musk. That's probably like the first one
Not
that
even
comes
the
to mind.
Rockefellers.
No, just like the one that's
Just
always in the news. Where I'm
Bezos.
like, buddy, like, why are you so? You just have to be weird to get that much money. I can be weirder.
You gotta be weird and brilliant.
I've been called worse.
We're waiting for the brilliant streak. Fingers crossed. So I'm curious.
Brilliant streak is what's on the Patreon, guys.
We're working on that. I should have that up in the next week or two. But anyway, I'm not going to
I
announce
like how
that yet.
you didn't. You were just like, yeah, Jonah's going to be naked on the internet. That's what it just sounded like. You're like, oh, I forgot about that.
got an
That just surprised
OnlyFans?
everyone.
Look, if it pays the bills, it pays the bills. That's all I got to say.
True.
So if you could go back and do it all over again, do you think you would need culinary school to get where you are now?
No, absolutely not. No, you don't need culinary. Nobody needs culinary school. Like I said, it's nice to have a little bit of an advantage because the culinary industry is super competitive, especially when you first start off. But no, it's not necessary because, especially now where like labor is needed because we're kind of in a dire situation, just the restaurant industry in general, not even just Phoenix. If you just walk into a restaurant and you're like, please, like, let me do something, let me work, like somebody will give you a job.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, anybody. And even back when I was starting off, like if you would have been like, I'll start as a dishwasher, they absolutely would have hired you.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So no, it's not necessary to put yourself thousands, in some case, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to make no money. Basically.
Or at
Yeah.
least start near close to minimum wage.
Right.
Did you have a favorite class though when you were in school?
No.
You're like the whole thing was a sham.
My favorite chef was Chef Frieder. Don't know where he is right now. Or, he's probably in his 70s. Sorry if he's not. I
Or
don't
we
know.
just lived through the pandemic, so
Rip.
maybe he should have been in his 70s.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't. Mitchell Frieder. I don't know where he's at.
We'll
but-
find him.
Yeah, but he was my favorite chef. But
What did he teach?
he was like 101.
Oh,
Basics.
cool. Basics.
Yeah, he was like basics, but he was also the most passionate. Like he would tell us stories about how there would be like knife fights in the kitchen. He worked with some dude named Chewy Franco, who was like some sort of like legend. There was like there was a
The Legend of Chewy Franco.
Yeah, seriously, like there was like a whole story where like this biker gang came into the kitchen and there were people drawing knives and like I don't know how real it was, but that was an actual story.
I want that movie now.
Seriously, I was like, that sounds awesome.
You're just in there, just like, I'm ready to fight with you, Chewy.
I've never had a knife fight in the kitchen though.
Well, we've been
You
asking.
specified the kitchen. Where else have you had?
I've never had a knife fight.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus
Yes.
Christ.
There's still time.
Yes, I'm not dead yet.
It's only 8:30.
True. Jonah, what are you doing later?
Night fights.
I lost my train of thought. Now I'm
It's hard to
sad.
think after Chewy Franco.
You didn't expect that.
Oh, so we've asked our listeners to send in restaurant stories. Really, Jess, who is wonderful and one of my favorite people in the world, has sent us some like fun Chipotle stories from when she worked there. I'm curious, like, if someone's like,
What's your fun Chipotle
tell us
story?
your like landmark, like if I'm at a party, this is my restaurant story.
I think it just happened. It was the legend. Of
The Legend of Chewy Franco.
It could be something weird that happened, something you heard. Like obviously, the Chewy Franco is a great example of that.
Now that you've asked me, like my brain,
You're like,
just,
I've never worked in a restaurant.
I don't know
Stories.
I mean,
You're
there
like-
was.
I'm a journalist.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to think here. I mean, I've worked with some like characters, and I've worked with. I mean, like
I like the restaurant industry because it's one of the few places that you can work it. And you're just like, yeah, I met that person. They're a character. Like, there's not any.
There's no words.
no.
Don't feel like there's that many other career. I guess there's one person everywhere that's a character, but the restaurant industry is like, oh, it's the full cast and
It
crew.
breeds
And
them.
it's just, they're all mad here.
It's true. Like, I don't know that I've had I don't have like a specific like exciting restaurant story. I just have a bunch. Without naming names, I one time got into it with a guy who was my sous chef at the time. And I don't even remember what happened, but basically he took me outside and like did that thing where you want to fight somebody, and I like looked at him
that
and
thing.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like he kind of like puffed his chest out at me. And mind you, I'm 5'3", and
You were like, sir.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing?
And so you puffed your chest out and you turned into one of those lizards with the little.
I've never been less threatened by this man, a person in my life. I was like, did he just do what I think he did? So I went and told on him because I'm a rat. I mean, I've been sexually harassed a bunch of times. There was not a dishwasher. He was a pantry pastry guy. And, let's just say, I know what happened. I got a good one. So there was
destination that train went.
I
went
knew we
all over
could
the
get there.
place.
I knew we could.
There was this one kid that was a dishwasher, and the dish at this particular restaurant, the restroom was right next to the dish pit in the back. And so I had used the restroom. I forgot my phone in the restroom. And when I realized that I was missing my phone, I went back.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had taken out my SIM card. Right?
No.
And
That's
there's only
cruel.
one person back there. And to be fair, he was like dumb as rocks. He was so dumb.
Sounds like he got you that
He
time.
was a kid. But so like, anyways, I realized that it was him. And I was like, do you know who took my SIM card? Like somebody like went into my phone and took the SIM card out. And he was like, no, like what happened? And I was like, it's fine. I'll just I'm going to do some brujeria on that guy. I'm going to put a spell on him and I'm going to curse him. And he's like, his life is going to be so crappy. And so like at first, like he was like, oh, that's horrible. And so like he just kind of let it go. And then like I would say like an hour later, he was like, so did you put a curse on him? And I was like, yes, absolutely. He's going to die. And he was like, and to be fair, like if somebody told me that, I would have just like been like, you're okay.
Yeah, whatever.
This guy was like legitimately like I could tell he was thinking about it. He was like contemplating the situation. Should I give her back her SIM card? Because I knew he took my SIM card.
You were messing it with him.
No, I knew exactly what I was doing. I just knew he was dumb and he wasn't going to like he was just scared. And so I was like, well, I'm going to play with this person because I'm awful. And
And a witch.
Also,
and a
like-
witch.
Also, you never expect anyone to buy the "I'm gonna curse you."
No!
Like if you say that ever, and
If I
someone's
went up
like,
to you and was like, Jonah, you've pissed me off.
"I'm gonna curse you,"
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
curse you.
dope.
Like, you know what? That checks out.
Right, it sounds about right.
I've
And
been
then
waiting to feel something.
and then you come home and tell Courtney and be like, Angel put a curse on me.
Be like, you gotta move out. I can't handle any more curses this year.
No, like I mean stuff like that. I've been sexually harassed a bunch. I had a person throw themselves at me in a walk-in, and I basically like punched him, and he like had the audacity to be like, "What are you doing to me?" And I was like, you just tripped over this box that was not in the way onto me. And yeah, stuff like that. I mean, there's always stuff that's happening.
Also, that's such a weird move. Like what Lifetime movie?
I'm a klutz, so let me fill you up?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm falling.
Let me hold your titty.
That's basically like what almost happened. I mean, like there's been like busy. I mean, aside from like the super busy night, there, like I said, I did the Super Bowl with 1,000 people. That was horrible. We were just like watching tickets just fall to the ground at that point because there's nowhere to put it like that many tickets when they're coming in like that. I don't know.
How do they stock? Yeah. How do they stock servers?
They were completely unprepared. We were literally just throwing people wherever we could fit them. People were waiting hours to get their food because we weren't prepared for that. Because nobody's prepared. A regular restaurant's not prepared for 1,000 people.
No, absolutely not.
That's restaurants that are prepared for 1,000 people aren't usually prepared for 1,000 people. Like that's not a.
You would think somebody would have had the foresight to be like, let's stop seating people.
No, because they don't know. They just think the kitchen is just endless. They can just keep going.
There were like 4 of us back there. It was horrible. It was awful.
4 versus 1,000 sounds like good odds.
But did you get your SIM card back?
No. He never gave it back. I had to go get a new SIM card. I mean, who even has SIM cards anymore? But
I don't even think you could open most phones to get to them at this point.
No, I can't. I mean, I can't open mine now. But that was like, that was over 10 years ago. It was probably like 12 or 13 years ago.
I think every phone still technically has a SIM card. I just don't.
Oh yeah, it's just you can't get into it as easily anymore. So I have to ask. I'm going to add this. I think to anybody, especially current restaurant people. How do you feel about brunch?
Fuck brunch. Everybody says that, right?
I love that. Yeah, I just think it's so funny every time.
No, it's awful. I mean, the thought of working brunch gives me anxiety. Like, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do
Gotta have
eggs.
a thing for eggs.
I don't want to work with eggs. Nope. I don't want to, like,
That was, like, the only thing I was good at, like, cooking.
I mean, egg cookery is a skill for
yeah.
sure. And I don't need or want that particular. I don't feel the need to, like, work on that. I'm not at home flipping eggs for myself, so.
No.
You haven't truly lived.
Are you over here having, like, full-on brunch on Sundays?
No, I mean, we go to Valentine if we do go out for brunch.
We make Donnie make us brunch.
Yeah, I haven't been there. Well, probably been like almost a year. Not even that.
That's not very bussin'.
Fucking rude. That is fucking rude.
Something else that I'm curious about before we wrap up today is how do you take care of your mental health while working in restaurants? Because I think that's something.
She just starts cackling.
Witchcraft.
Put a spell on you.
Put a spell on you.
It was something Jonah and I were talking about the other day, just about like caring for yourself. Because obviously, like most people don't have health insurance to work in the industry. Mm-hmm. Most people do not have time to seek therapy. Like I think a lot of people, especially people who listen to our show, would be curious to hear that side of things, especially as the restaurant industry continues to change. So how does that play out for you? Like, do you do stuff specifically for your mental health, or are you just kind of like barreling through it and hoping for the best?
I mean, I do, but I am a admittedly like mentally ill person.
Okay.
Like I'm open about my
We're there with you.
With depression and things like that. Like there are days when, like on Sundays, I just try not to do anything until like, I don't know, like the early evening or something like that. Like I sleep in. I don't try to get out of bed early just for the sake of getting out of bed early.
Yeah.
I exercise.
Gross.
It's good for some people, Jonah.
It would be good for him if he did it. Yeah.
Well, you know, we can work out together.
I'm gonna start disc golfing with Donald.
That's not.
My left titty hurt for an entire week after the last time I went and did disc golfing. You can't tell me it's not a physical activity.
You know what? Baby steps. Just get out there. Get out there.
You just gotta start somewhere.
Right. I tried to, I mean, also I'm single and I don't have children, so it's a little bit easier for me. So like I read, I try to take time to write or just decompress, or even when I feel guilty about decompressing, I try to take the time to decompress. I was in therapy, but therapy is very expensive.
Yeah.
True.
And so like I haven't abandoned that. I just haven't gone in a little bit because it's the summer and bitches be broke these days. So
It's a rough time right now.
right. So I mean, I do things that I feel like are beneficial to my mental health. But for people, the industry is very hard on people mentally.
Yeah.
In front, back of the house.
It's a weird, I feel like it's a chicken and the egg situation where it's like, what came first, the mental illness or working in a restaurant?
I feel like you have to be mentally ill to work in a restaurant.
that. And then also like, it's
Or
like,
at least a masochist.
And it folds in on itself.
Mhm.
Where you double down, you're like, yep, and now it's worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that it's the best of times, it's worst of times.
So to wrap us up today, I'm curious, to someone who would want to get into the industry, what would be your recommendation? Like, what Angel is starting her career,
I have to be honest here, right?
and you get and like
No, go ahead and lie to this.
I mean, I could. I'm good at
be like
that.
go to culinary school.
Go to culinary school, work at a brunch restaurant. Just get railed with eggs Benedicts until you can't see straight.
Just get a job at Red Robin.
Oh yeah.
No, to be honest, when somebody is like, I want to be a chef, my first inclination is to be like, don't do that.
Do anything else.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. Like, why do you want to be a chef? And like, most people are like, oh, I'm a good cook. I make a mean casserole. And
Keep
that's
making those
my
casseroles.
favorite.
Keep the joy.
it's sad.
It's your hobby. Don't ruin it.
Yeah, exactly. You like to cook?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't like,
Don't make yourself hate it right quick.
no, like, they're like, somebody told me I should be a chef. And I'm like, that somebody probably has no idea what the hell that they're talking
They
about.
hate you.
That person
Right.
actually- They're a meanie head.
So,
Cut them out of your life. They're no good for
so
you.
do not do that. I usually honestly like try to discourage people. Like when we have people come in who don't have any experience, I'm like, why do you want to do this?
Do you hate yourself?
Yeah, seriously. Like whenever somebody's like, I want to be a chef, I'm like, what? But why do you want to be a chef? Like, why do you? It's hard and you're not going to make any money. Do you want to do that? Like, do you have? What's wrong with you?
It was the main thing, like, go ahead and do it, but also like the actual awareness of
Right.
it's not going to be successful initially, or it will be, and like good for you. But even that success is like, yeah, you work 6 to 7 days a week. You're going to be there at least 80 hours a week if you're like wanting to be the quote chef. Like it's your work-life balance is going to be absolutely shot for years.
It's very hard to keep that, and then
let alone like any success post that, because like eventually they're like, okay, cool, that was fun for 3 years, now what? And then you're locked in a awful cycle of like, okay, well, I have to be at the restaurant for 80 hours a week still, but also I would like to see my daughter for the first time in 4 years. Like it's a pretty brutal.
It's hard. It's hard. I don't encourage anybody to get into it. If somebody insists on getting into it despite whatever my objections, then I'm like, okay, this is what you should do. Don't go to culinary school. Go try to find a job. Just try to work your way up, because otherwise you're going to be stuck with a mountain of debt for no reason. And then you're going to resent what you do because you're never going to pay that debt off. But with that being said,